The stars were quiet. The vast emptiness between them held no sound, no warning, only cold silence. But deep in the outer edge of the Sol system, something changed, a ripple in space silent at first then light. A flash of energy as a massive alien fleet dropped out of warp. They came in perfect formation. 12 ships shaped like smooth crescents, glowing with soft blue light. They looked elegant, peaceful, powerful. This was not a war fleet. Not yet. This was the Virex Concord. Their mission was clear. First Contact Protocol 7A, they had detected unregulated FTL emissions from this star system. That meant someone here had developed faster-than-light travel without permission from the Galactic Council. That was a red flag. So they came to check. They didn't come to fight. They came to assess. And if needed, to contain. The lead ship, the Virex Prime, hovered silently above Earth's largest off-world colony, New Avalon. It was a green world, rich with forests and oceans, dotted with human cities that stretched into the sky like towers made of glass and steel from orbit. It looked beautiful, but beauty could hide danger inside the command deck of the Virex Prime. The High Observer Corps sat at the center of the bridge, surrounded by floating holodisplays showing scans of the planet below. "Surface scan complete," said a voice from one of the terminals. "Population, approximately 3.2 billion. Technology. Level, mid-tier industrial, early interstellar expansion." Corps nodded slowly. "They are young," he said, "but dangerous." Another officer stepped forward. Her name was Lyra, a cultural analyst assigned to first contact missions. "Their language is fragmented," she said. "Multiple dialects? But we have matched their most common communication patterns. We can speak to them." Corps raised an eyebrow. "Do we know what they will say?" Lyra hesitated. "Not exactly, but our simulations show 3 likely outcomes: cooperation, fear, or hostility." Corps smiled slightly. "Then we must prepare for all 3. He turned to face the main view screen. On it, the planet filled the display. "This is Protocol 7A, he announced. "We make contact. We do not threaten. We observe, we learn, and we decide." The crew moved quickly. Within minutes, a message was prepared. It was simple, peaceful, clear. "To the inhabitants of Sol System, you are not alone. We come in peace. We wish to communicate." The signal was sent on every known frequency. Radio waves, infrared, even old analog TV signals, just in case these humans were still primitive enough to use them. Then they waited, down on New Avalon. The message arrived. It hit military satellites first. Then civilian networks. Then emergency channels. Every screen flickered. Every speaker crackled, and then the message played. People stopped. They stared. Some laughed. Some cried. Some panicked. Across the world, people looked up at the sky. There, hanging above them, were the alien ships. Floating. Silent. Watching. Governments scrambled. Military bases went on high alert. Scientists dropped everything to analyze the message. But before any official response could be made, a new signal appeared. One single warship, far away near the edge of the system, responded. It wasn't a diplomatic team. It wasn't a scientist. It was a warship. The UNSC Valiant. Commander Rourke stood on the bridge of the Valiant, arms crossed, jaw tight. He was a man built for war. Tall, scarred, with eyes that never blinked unless he wanted to. Behind him, his crew worked fast, checking systems, scanning the alien fleet. "Sir," said Lieutenant Vega, her voice calm but sharp, "we've confirmed the origin of the signal. 12 ships, unknown class, no weapons active." Rourke grunted. "Yet, orders?" asked the tactical officer. Rourke looked at the screen. The alien ships glowed softly in the blackness. "I want full weapons online. Point defense ready. All drones launched. If they so much as sneeze wrong, I want us ready to punch their teeth in." There was a pause. "Sir, that's a lot of force." "For a first contact," Rourke turned slowly. His eyes met the officer's. "That's the point," he said. "You don't greet strangers with open arms when they drop out of warp right over your home." He walked over to the COM station. "Send a message back." "Sir?" "Simple. 1 line." He leaned down and typed. "Identify yourself, state your purpose, and keep your distance." That was it. No greetings. No diplomacy. Just rules. Back aboard the Virex Prime. The message was received. It took a moment to decode. When it did, there was confusion. What does it mean? Asked Lyra. It means, said Kor, reading the reply again. They are not impressed. Lyra frowned. They're supposed to be awed or afraid or curious. Not this. Kor studied the human message again. Greater than identify yourself. State your purpose. Keep your distance. He looked at his crew. They think we are a threat. No, said Lyra. They assume we are a threat. Kor smiled slightly. Well, he said, perhaps they are wiser than we thought. He turned to the communications. Officer, reply to the humans. Tell them who we are. Our mission, our intentions, and if they fire anyway. Someone asked. Kor shrugged. Then we learn how strong they really are. Hours passed. The alien ships stayed in orbit. The Valiant remained at battle readiness on Earth. Governments argued. Should they send diplomats? Should they send more ships? Or should they just let Commander Rourke handle it? Because while politicians debated, Rourke did what soldiers do best. He watched, he waited. He prepared, and somewhere deep inside him, he hoped the aliens would try something stupid because he was ready, and he knew. The Valiant was not alone. More ships were coming, human ships. And soon, the galaxy would learn something it had forgotten, that humans don't bow, they don't kneel, they don't run, they fight, and they win. The reply came fast, too fast for the Virex Concord to fully process. They had sent their message, clear and calm. We are the Virex Concord. We come in peace. We seek only to understand your species and determine if you are ready for galactic integration. It was polite, respectful, diplomatic, but the humans didn't respond with awe or gratitude. They responded with more questions. Define galactic integration. What do you mean by ready? Why are 12 ships orbiting our colony? Are you armed? Kor read the reply on the main screen aboard the Virex Prime and frowned. They're not reacting like any other first contact we've had, said Lyra, standing beside him. No. Kor agreed. They're asking too many questions. Lyra looked at him. Isn't that good? They want to understand us? Kor shook his head. No, they want to know if they should kill us. A silence settled over the bridge, outside. The human warship, the UNSC Valiant, remained locked in position, its weapons still active, its drones circling the alien fleet like wolves sniffing out weakness. It wasn't moving. It wasn't surrendering. It wasn't even blinking. On board the Valiant, Commander Rourke leaned back in his chair, chewing gum as he stared at the alien. Ships on the view screen. Sir, said Lieutenant Vega from the tactical console. They've deployed more drones. Passive scans. No weapons. Rourke nodded. Let them scan. Doesn't matter. We already know what they are. What are they, sir? Asked a young officer nearby. Rourke turned slowly. His eyes were cold. Focused. A test, he said. Every time someone new shows up in space, they think they can walk right in and start handing out welcome baskets. But space isn't nice, and Earth doesn't hand out free passes. He stood up, walking toward the CUM station. Send another message, he said. Tell them we don't accept uninvited guests. The officer blinked. Sir, you heard? Me. Moments later, the message went out. You are in restricted space. You will maintain distance. You will not deploy additional assets. You will not approach New Avalon without escort. Silence followed, then a response. We have no hostile intent. We only wish to speak, Rourke snorted. That's what all the bad ones say. He turned to Vega. Prepare full combat readiness. Let's see how long it takes them to panic. Vega hesitated. Sir, that could escalate things. Rourke gave her a sharp look. Good. Back on the Virex Prime, confusion grew. They're treating us like invaders, Lyra said, watching the Valiant power up more systems. They don't believe us, Kor muttered. No, Lyra replied. They don't care. She pointed to the data feed coming in from the sensors. The Valiant was arming more than just point defense systems. It was powering up railgun turrets, launching more drones and scanning the alien ships like they were targets on a firing range. They're preparing for battle, said one of the officers. Kor looked at the screen again. No, they're already in battle. They just haven't fired yet. Lyra stepped forward. We need to send a stronger signal. A clearer message. Maybe they think we're hiding something. Kor nodded. Agreed. Send an open transmission. Tell them who we are, what we want, and that we will not harm them. As the message was prepared, one of the junior officers spoke up nervously. What if they fire anyway? Kor didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked at the screen again. At the lone human warship. So small compared to their fleet, and yet it wasn't afraid. It wasn't backing down. It was waiting. Watching. Testing. Korr finally answered. Then we'll learn what kind of enemy we're dealing with. Minutes later, the Varex broadcasted their message across every channel. This time, it was direct. Clear. Unmistakable. Double quotes to the UNSC Valiant. We are not here to fight. We are not here to conquer. We are here to understand. We offer peace. We ask only for dialogue. The message looped endlessly. Still, the Valiant did not respond. Still, it held its ground. Still, it watched. Inside the command center of the Valiant, Rourke finally cracked a smile. They're trying, he said. I'll give them that. Vega raised an eyebrow. Trying what? To talk their way out of getting blown up, Vega sighed. Sir, maybe we should let diplomacy handle this. Rourke shook his head. Diplomacy comes after strength. If we show weakness now, they'll think we're soft. And soft means easy prey. He turned to the comms officer. Send a reply. What should I say? Rourke grinned. Say, understood. Stand by. Just 3 words. Simple. Cold. Final. Like a hammer hanging in the air. Back on New Avalon. EarthGov scrambled. Military leaders argued. Scientists debated. Politicians panicked. The aliens were peaceful. That much was clear, but the Valiant was acting like it was about to go to war. Call Rourke off, said General Hayes, pacing in the war room. Before he starts a damn war. He won't listen, said Admiral Wu, arms crossed. Not unless we order him directly. Hayes stopped. Then do it. Wu shook his head. You don't understand. He's doing exactly what he's trained to do. He's testing them. Hayes blinked. Testing who? The aliens? Wu said. And us. Hayes frowned. Explain. Wu walked over to the display, showing the Valiant S position. If Rourke fires first, we lose everything. Politically, diplomatically. We become the aggressors. But if he holds his line, Wu continued, and the aliens stay peaceful, then we prove 2 things. Hayes narrowed his eyes. Which are? That we're not easy targets, Wu said, and that they might actually be telling the truth. Hayes thought for a long moment. Then he nodded. Let him keep watching. Hours passed. The alien ships remained in orbit. The Valiant never moved. Tension built, not just between the fleets, but inside both of them. On the Varex Prime, some officers wanted to leave. This is not working, said Captain Dren. They don't trust us. They don't want peace. They want war, said another officer. Kor listened quietly. Then he said, or they want to see if we deserve peace. There was silence. Finally, Lyra spoke. What do we do now? Kor looked at the screen again. At the lone human warship. At the silent warning it represented. We wait, he said. And we watch. Then, suddenly, movement. From the Valiant. All eyes turned to the screen. It powered up its engines. It rotated. Slightly. And then it fired. A single shot. Not at the alien fleet. But past them into empty space. A controlled burst. A warning. A message. We see you. We're ready. Don't push further. The shockwave rippled through the vacuum. The Varex fleet reacted instantly. Shields flared. Weapon systems powered up. Alarms blared. Kor barely flinched. He looked at the screen. Then he laughed. Softly. Quietly. But enough for Lyra to hear. They fired a warning shot, she said. Stunned. Kor nodded. Yes, at us. Lyra stared at him. What does that mean? Kor turned to face her. It means, he said, this species is unlike anything we've ever met. He looked at the fleet around him. At ease, he ordered. No retaliation. This is not an attack. One of the officers protested. But Kor silenced him with a look. This is a challenge, he said, and we must decide how to respond. Meanwhile, on board the Valiant, Rourke watched the reaction closely. The Varex hadn't fired back, they hadn't fled, they hadn't escalated. They had simply paused. He turned to Viga. They're holding steady. Viga nodded. They're not attacking. Rourke smirked. Good, now we see what kind of people they really are. He leaned back in his chair and waited, because warships don't always fight with guns. Sometimes. They fight with fear. With patience. With presence. And sometimes die win before they even fire a second. Shot. The silence after the shot was heavier than before. The Varex fleet had not fired back. They hadn't run. They hadn't blinked. But they hadn't moved either. Aboard the Varex. Prime High Observer Core sat still on his command chair. Watching the human warship like it was a predator circling prey, he wasn't afraid, but he was confused. They fired at us, said Captain Dren, voice tight with anger. That was no test. That was aggression. No, Core replied calmly. It was a statement. Dren turned sharply. What kind of species fires on first contact? Core didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked at the screen again. At the UNSC Valiant still floating in space, dull watching, still waiting. Lyra stepped forward, her voice quiet but firm. They're not trying to scare us. Core looked at her. They're trying to see how we react, she continued. To test us, Dren scoffed. By shooting at us? Yes, Lyra said. Because that's what they do. Silence filled the bridge. Then Core stood up slowly. We will not respond in kind, he said. We are not here to fight. Dren opened his mouth to argue, but Core raised a hand. This is not weakness, he said. This is strategy. We show them peace. And if they strike again, we prove we are not afraid. On board the Valiant, Commander Rourke watched the alien ships closely. No return fire. No movement. Just waiting. He smirked. Now we know who we're dealing with, he said, leaning back in his chair. Lieutenant Viga stood nearby, arms crossed. You think they're peaceful? Rourke shook his head. I think they're smart enough not to take the bait. He tapped the console. Tell me what else they've done since the shot. Viga brought up the data feed. They powered up shields, she said. Scanned us more aggressively, but no weapons lock. No launches, Rourke nodded. Good, they're not stupid. He turned to the comms officer. Send another message? What should I say? The officer asked. Rourke grinned. Say, understood, continue observation, keep it short. Let them think we're bored. Viga raised an eyebrow. Sir, don't you think we should? Don't think, Rourke cut in. Watch, learn, wait. He leaned closer to the screen. These aliens came here thinking they'd meet diplomats, scientists, maybe even cowards. His eyes narrowed. They got soldiers instead. Back on New Avalon, EarthGov was in chaos. The warning shot had sent shockwaves through every level of government. Some called it a mistake. Others called it a miracle, and a few, they saw it for what it was, a test. Inside the main diplomatic chamber, General Hayes paced while Admiral Wu stood calm beside him. They could have started a war, Hayes snapped. Wu shrugged. They didn't. Hayes turned to face him. That's not the point. Rourke acted without orders. He fired on an unknown alien force. Wu gave him a tired look. And they didn't shoot back. Hayes paused. That means something, Wu continued. It means they're different. Not just from us, but from anything we've ever met? Hayes frowned. How so? Wu walked over to the display showing the alien fleet. Every other race we've encountered either ran or fought, he said. The Varex did neither. They held their line? They stayed calm? He looked at Hayes. They passed the test. Hayes stared at him. You're saying this was all planned? Wu shook his head. Not exactly. But Rourke knows what he's doing. He wanted to see how they'd react. And now what? Hayes asked. Wu smiled slightly. Now we see how long they can hold. Hours passed, the tension remained, but then finally, the Varex responded. Their message was simple. We understand your caution, greater than we accept your terms. We request formal dialogue. Rourke read it once. Then again. Then he laughed. Well, he said. Looks like they actually want to talk. Vega stepped forward. Should we respond? Rourke leaned back in his chair. Let them wait. Vega blinked. Sir? He looked at her. We let them sweat a little. Show them we're not desperate for peace. She sighed. You're enjoying this, Rourke grinned. Damn right I am. Finally, after another hour of silence, the Valiant responded, greater than dialogue accepted. Conditions, greater than one ship only, greater than 2, no weapons, greater than 3, no deception, greater than violation results in immediate termination. The message was cold.direct.final. The Varex received it and debated. Some wanted to refuse, some wanted to leave, but Core made the call. We go, he said. Lyra looked at him. Are you sure? Core nodded. Yes, this is what we came for. He turned to the pilot. Prepare the shuttle. An hour later, a small alien vessel detached from the Varex Prime and began its slow descent toward the Valiant. It was sleek, silent, elegant. It carried only 3 passengers. Kor. Lyra. And 1 security escort. They approached the human warship. They saw its full size for the first time. It was massive. Weapons lined its hull. Drones circled it like bees around a hive, and as they docked, the airlock opened with a hiss. Inside, 2 rows of armored Marines stood ready. No smiles. No greetings. Only silence. Core stepped forward, and the meeting began. Inside the UNSC Valiant, the air was cold, not from temperature. From tension. Core stepped forward slowly, his boots clicking against the metal floor with every step. Beside him, Lyra walked silently. Her eyes darted around, taking in everything, the rows of Marines, the hum of active systems, the way the humans carried themselves, not like soldiers on parade, but like wolves waiting for the hunt. Behind them, their security escort followed. Tense but calm. They were not searched, they were not stopped, but they were watched. Every movement tracked. Every breath noted. Commander Rourke stood at the far end of the briefing room. Arms crossed, jaw tight. He didn't smile, he didn't nod, he just stared. Finally, Core spoke. I am High Observer Core of the Varex Concord. Rourke didn't respond right away. Instead, he walked around the table. Slowly. Like a predator circling prey. Then he stopped, sat down. And finally said, Welcome aboard. It wasn't warm. It wasn't friendly. It was a statement, a test. Would they take offense, or would they keep going? Core sat across from him. Lyra sat beside him. The security escort stayed standing. Rourke leaned forward. You fired no weapons, he said. You didn't run? You didn't panic? Core nodded. We came in peace, Rourke snorted. Peace doesn't mean much out here. Core tilted his head slightly. Then what does? Rourke looked at him. Strength. Silence filled the room. Then Rourke continued. We don't care about your words. We care about your actions. You came into our space without warning. You dropped ships over one of our colonies. And now you want to talk. He leaned back. That's fine. But understand this. We've been through hell before. We fought wars that made stars go dark. So if you're expecting us to kneel or bow or kiss your ass because you have shiny ships, he paused, you're gonna be disappointed. Core listened carefully. He didn't flinch, didn't argue, just studied the man in front of him. Then he said, You assume all species are the same. Rourke raised an eyebrow. Aren't they? Core shook his head. No, some fight because they must. Some fight because they can. Some fight because they enjoy it. He looked Rourke in the eye. And some fight because they believe strength is the only truth. Rourke grinned. Well, he said, at least we agree on something. Outside the meeting room, Lieutenant Vega stood near the CUM station. She watched the feed from inside the chamber. They're not backing down. She muttered. No, said Commander Wu, who had arrived quietly behind her. And neither is Rourke. Vega turned. Sir. Wu gave her a small smile. This isn't just diplomacy. This is a power play, she frowned. So we let them fight with words instead of guns? Wu nodded. Sometimes that's the most dangerous battle of all. He looked at the screen. Again, these aliens came expecting to meet diplomats. Scientists, politicians, he sighed, they got warriors. Back in the room, the conversation continued. Kor looked around. Your kind is unlike any we have encountered. Rourke smirked. That's what I'm hearing a lot lately. Kor leaned forward. You do not follow galactic norms. Rourke blinked. What's that supposed to mean? Kor tapped the table lightly. Most species react to first contact with fear, awe, or curiosity. You reacted with suspicion, caution, and force. He paused. It is unusual, Rourke chuckled. Unusual? That's one word for it. He stood up, walking toward the window, outside. The alien fleet still hovered in orbit. Earth's world glowed below. He pointed at it. That's our home, he said. Well, part of it. We've built cities there, families, lives. We fought for every inch of it. Every scrap of rock we live on, we bled for. He turned to face Kor. So, when someone drops 12 ships over one of our worlds without asking, yeah, we get a little pissy. Kor studied him, then he said, You are not unified. Rourke raised an eyebrow. What? Kor gestured slightly. Your species has many governments, many languages, many competing interests. You are not a single empire, Rourke shrugged. Doesn't matter. We fight like one when we have to. Kor nodded slowly. That is what worries me, Rourke grinned. Good. Stay worried. Later that day, the meeting ended. Kor and his team returned to their ship. As they docked, Lyra finally spoke. They're dangerous, she said. Kor looked at her. Yes, she shook her head, not just in battle, in spirit. Kor nodded. They do not see limits. They do not fear war. They do not seek peace unless it serves them. Lyra looked out the window at Earth. They're like fire, she whispered. They burn everything they touch. Kor watched the planet too. Yes, he said, and they're just getting started. Meanwhile, back on New Avalon, EarthGov was buzzing. Diplomats argued, scientists debated. Military leaders watched. General Hayes sat in the war room, staring at the latest reports. They didn't attack, he said. That's good, right? Admiral Wu sipped his coffee. Depends. Hayes frowned. On what? Wu looked at him. On whether we can control what happens next? Hayes blinked. Control what? Wu pointed at the screen. Them. Hayes followed his gaze. There, floating in orbit, was the alien fleet. And just beyond it, more human ships arriving, more warships. More colonies expanding. More humanity spreading. Wu took another sip. We opened the door today, he said. Now we have to decide what comes through it. Hayes looked at him. You think this is just the beginning? Wu nodded. Oh yes, he said. This is just the beginning. Back on the Virex Prime, High Observer Kor stood in the command chamber, watching the latest reports stream in from across human space. More ships, more colonies, more movement, and more war. The humans weren't just expanding. They were pushing. Hard. Kor turned to his top analysts. What have we learned? Lyra stepped forward, her voice calm but serious. Everything. She tapped a control panel, and a massive data map lit up the room. It showed dozens of systems now occupied by human forces. Mining colonies, military outposts, fleet movements, trade routes forming like veins through space. They are not just explorers, Lyra continued. They are builders, fighters, survivors. Another analyst added, their species has no single leader. No empire, just many groups that somehow still work together when threatened. Kor nodded slowly. They don't need a king, he said. They fight because they must, because it's in them. He looked at the screen again. At Earth. At New Avalon. At the UNSC Valiant still holding its line. They are not like us, he said. They do not seek peace for peace's sake. They do not fear war. They see it as part of life. There was silence, then Lyra asked, Do we continue contact? Kor didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked toward the main view window, outside. The stars glittered cold and distant. Behind him, another officer spoke. We could report this to the Galactic Council. Recommend containment. Kor turned slowly. Containment? He asked. You mean quarantine, or worse? The officer hesitated. They are dangerous. Kor smiled slightly. Yes, they are. He walked back to the central table. They are not just dangerous because they have weapons, he said. They are dangerous because they do not stop. Not when they are hurt, not when they are outnumbered, not even when they are alone. He looked at each of them, and now they know we are here. Lyra frowned. So what do? Kor took a deep breath. We learn, he said. We watch. We prepare. He looked at the screen one last time, and we make sure we are never their enemy. On board the Valiant, Commander Rourke sat in his quarters, looking at a report from EarthGov, greater than diplomatic relations with the Virex Concord are ongoing. Further contact approved, Rourke snorted. Great, he muttered. Now we've got bureaucrats involved. Lieutenant Vega entered, holding a datapad. You read the report? She asked. Rourke tossed it aside, skimmed it. She raised an eyebrow. And? He leaned back. They passed the test. Vega blinked. That's it? He nodded. They didn't run, didn't panic, didn't shoot. That means they're smart enough to understand how this works. She crossed her arms. And if they come back with more ships? Rourke grinned. Then we show them what happens when you bring friends. She sighed. You're impossible. He stood up. Nope, I'm just human. He walked toward the door. Come on, he said. Let's go scare some aliens. Back on Earth, the world was buzzing. First contact had gone better than expected, but not everyone was happy. In the halls of the United Nations Space Command, debates raged. Some leaders wanted full integration with the Virex. Others wanted isolation. A few wanted war. General Hayes sat in the middle of it all, listening. Finally, Admiral Wu leaned over. You're quiet, he said. Hayes exhaled. I'm thinking, Wu smirked. About what? Hayes looked at the display showing the alien fleet. I keep thinking about what Rourke said, he admitted. About how humans don't bow. Don't kneel, don't run, Wu nodded. Sounds about right. Hayes turned to him. But what happens when we start pushing too hard? When we become the ones others fear? Wu thought for a moment. Then we remember why we fight, he said. Not for conquest, not for power, but because we protect what's ours. Hayes nodded slowly. Yeah, he said. Let's hope they understand that. Weeks passed. The Virex fleet remained in orbit. They sent more messages. They shared technology. They studied humanity like a puzzle they couldn't solve, and the humans. They kept watching, kept waiting, kept ready. One day, Kor called for a final meeting, this time. It wasn't aboard the Valiant. It was on Earth. In the city of Geneva. Inside the Galactic Relations Office. Kor arrived with Lara and a small delegation. They were greeted not by diplomats, but by soldiers. Marines. Pilots. Commanders. And at the center of it all, Commander Rourke. He stood tall, arms behind his back, eyes sharp. Kor approached. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then Kor spoke. You are not what we expected, Rourke smirked. Good, I'd hate to be predictable. Kor tilted his head. You are dangerous, Rourke nodded. Damn right. Silence. Then Kor said, we wish to continue contact. Rourke didn't hesitate. Fine, but understand this. If you ever threaten our people, if you ever cross our lines, he stepped closer. We will end you. Kor didn't flinch. Instead, he smiled. I believe you. Later that night, aboard the Virex Prime, Kor stood on the observation deck. Lyra joined him. They really are different, she said. Kor nodded. Yes, she looked at him. Do you think we made the right choice? He watched the planet below. Earth. Home of a species that had fought nature, disease, famine, war, and space itself, and survived every battle. They are not just strong, he said, they are wild. Lyra frowned. Wild things can't be controlled. Kor smiled. No, he said, but sometimes they can be understood. He turned to face her, and sometimes, he added, they can be respected. Meanwhile, on board the Valiant, Rourke stood on the bridge. The ship was preparing to leave orbit. To move on. To keep watching. Lieutenant Vega approached. Where to now, sir? Rourke looked at the stars ahead. Anywhere they go, he said. We follow. Vega raised an eyebrow. Even into unknown space? Rourke grinned, especially there. He turned to the crew. All hands, he said. Prepare for departure. As the engines hummed to life, a final message was broadcast. It wasn't for Earth. Or the Virex. It was for anyone else who might be listening. This is human space. If you mean us harm, Bring friends, greater than you'll need. Then the valiant vanished into the stars, and somewhere deep in the dark something listened. Something new, something old, something waiting, but that is another story.